Okay, we are all set. Go ahead.
Thank you, Joanne, and welcome everyone to the June 4th, 2025 meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission. We will open with the roll call. Mr. Chiocchio.
Here.
Ms. Hosstetter.
There you go.
Mr. Sylvain.
Here.
Mr. Haas. Did we hear from Kevin at all, Joe? No? Guess not. Okay, Mr. Haas is absent. And Chairman Finaldi is here. Okay, we will not seat alternates, and we do have a quorum.
Waleed has his hand raised. I'm not sure what's going on. Oh, he moved. Okay. I did not hear from Kevin. I will text him.
Okay.
You go ahead.
Okay, we'll just keep moving forward. Commission members, the minutes of the May 21st, 2025 meeting were previously distributed. Unless there's any discussion, I will entertain a motion to accept those minutes.
Mr. Chairman, so moved.
Thank you, Helen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second, Mr. Sylvain. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The minutes are accepted. Let the record show our next regular meeting is scheduled for June 18th, 2025. Before we move forward in the agenda, I will read the standard virtual intro, Zoom meeting intro. This meeting of the Danbury Planning Commission is being held on Zoom as a virtual meeting. Even though this meeting is a virtual meeting, members of the public and interested parties continue to have the opportunity to participate in the meeting in a couple of different ways. You can participate via Zoom and see the audio and the video, or you can call in by phone and participate via audio only. Please be aware that we may have to mute your microphone or telephone to avoid an echo or some other background noise. Instructions on how to participate in the meeting appear on the City of Danbury website, and all of the documents and materials that apply to the matters to be discussed during this meeting, including the agenda, are also available on the City of Danbury website. If you have any questions regarding how to participate in the meeting, please contact the City of Danbury Planning and Zoning Department. As a reminder, the entire meeting will be posted on and can be seen on the City of Danbury website. We will follow the posted agenda as per standard practice. If prior to the meeting, any questions or comments on agenda items were submitted via email to the Planning and Zoning Department, those comments will be read during the appropriate portion of the meeting. Finally, please remember that technology glitches do sometimes occur. Please be patient if that happens. Looking at our agenda, Commission members, we do not have any new public hearings this evening, and we have nothing under our continuation of public hearings agenda. So we'll move right to item 1 under old business for discussion and possible action. JAR Associates LLC application for special exception site plan approval for 1, metal fabrication, section 6A2B11, 2, indoor and outdoor storage of construction equipment, sections 3E4 and 6A2B15, 3, indoor and outdoor storage of building materials, sections 3E4 and 6A2B16, and 4, warehouse use, section 6A2B19 in the IL40 zone. 4 Leemack Avenue, K14122, special exception number 796. A draft resolution of approval with conditions was distributed, and Ally, I will turn it over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm going to jump to the conditions of approval. So on page 4, and a lot of these conditions we've recently heard in the Two Great Pasture resolution of approval as well. So just bear that in mind as you go through this. So starting on page 4, number 3, basically the applicant should just comply with the EIC permit that was issued. Number 5 is the standard for outdoor storage areas to be restricted to the areas shown on the approved site plan. Number 6, outdoor storage, sale, rental of any materials and or equipment is prohibited within the front yard setback and the sanitary sewer easement. So if you remember, Kelly's letter from engineering stated that no materials shall be stored on the sanitary sewer easement, so that has been added to condition number 6 there. Next page, number 8, there is an on-site fire hydrant, so that is a standard condition for that. And then number 9, similarly to how we did for Two Great Pasture, the ambiguous nature of the storage and not having the tenant in place at the moment. We've conditioned all future changes shall require the submission of an operation plan and a safety spill cleanup plan to the Department of Planning and Zoning and the Office of the Fire Marshal. Conditions 12 through 16 are the outstanding staff comments. Again, those are very minor, and the applicant has agreed on the record to comply with those comments. Going to page 6, number 20, another standard outdoor storage condition is the 6-foot-high view restrictive fence along the perimeter of the property. And then 21 is that sanitary sewer easement. Just bring that up again for corporation council and the filing and all of that good stuff for that. Does the commission have any questions?
Mr. Kiokio.
So on, if you go to number 4 on page 4, this is saying that effectively they have to do all of the work and get it all completed before they really have any outdoor storage or any operations, because I guess this application is really for all the outdoor uses. So everything has to be completed before they can do the outdoor storage. That's the way I would like it, and I'm hoping that that's what that says.
Yes, that's correct. It's also, they have a phasing plan in their exhibit as well. So per the phasing plan, which included all of those site improvements in phase 1.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Ally? Commission members? No, this wasn't necessarily a complex application, but it did require a very long and detailed resolution. And it looks like we hit everything. Thanks to staff, Ally, Jen, whoever who drafted this. Very thorough, and it did cover everything we talked about. Okay, anything else, commission members, for Ally or Jennifer? Unless there's any other discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve or deny the resolution. I'm sorry, to approve the resolution of approval with conditions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make the motion to approve the resolution of approval with conditions dated May 29, 2025.
Thank you, Mr. Kiokio. Motion made, I believe, is seconded by Helen. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I will try your minds. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? The resolution of approval with conditions is approved. Thank you, everyone. Attorney Beecher, thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Let's keep moving right to our referrals. As everyone knows, look at the agenda. We have 2 8-3A referrals. First one's a little shorter than the second one. I'll read it. The 8-3A referral, petition of Walid Al-Bakri, planning director, to amend section 8E10, 10B2, and 11B4 of the zoning regulations, amend and revise fee schedule to consolidate all fees into one comprehensive section of the regulations. The Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on this matter on June 10th, 2025. Again, this is a section, this is a 8-3A referral to us. Walid, it's all yours. Is Walid there? There he is. Okay.
Yeah, good evening. I'm here. Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, and good evening, everyone. I am pleased to be here tonight as part of a citywide initiative to reevaluate all our fee schedules across all the departments, including engineering, building. Other departments will actually do the same. So earlier this year, the building department began this initiative, and now we are at the stage of the planning department. Before I keep going, I would like to mention that the way our fee schedule is structured in our zoning regulations, it includes planning as well as zoning enforcement. So some of the changes we are looking at include also zoning. So there have been a lot of consultation between planning and zoning, and there's only one item in the fee schedule related to the health department, which I'll mention later on. Before I dive into all the details, I would like to actually give you an outline of the presentation. First step, we are going to actually look at an overview of the existing fees and highlight the main aspects. After that, I will move on to talk about how our fees as they stand now compared to other cities of similar size. Following that, I'm going to talk about something that is related to finance. Mainly, I'm going to talk about our revenue as planning, as well as zoning and planning collectively, and the deficit we have. Following that, I'm going to actually go over the adjustments that are being recommended, and I'm going to explain why. Finally, I'm going to outline the main recommendations and will open the floor for discussion. With that being said, I'm just going to share my slide or my screen with you here. Bear with me. Can you all see what I'm talking about here or no?
Yes, we
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Okay.
Yep.
So item number 1, currently a little bit of background here, as you can see on the slide. Our fee schedule in terms of the content did not change since 2016. In 2016, there were some changes, very minor ones. After that, there were some changes, but they were not about the actual fees. So as I mentioned before, our fees in the zoning regulation include zoning and planning, and they are scattered across the zoning regulation, meaning mainly they are in one section, but there are other fees all over the zoning regulations. Most importantly, which is very important here to talk about, what we have so far in our zoning regulation is what I would call flat fee. I have some examples for you here. So for special exception, special permits, zoning amendments, it's flat fee. Special exception and special permit is $350. I'm sure you know this better than anybody else. Some applications are easy, some take a long time, sometimes over a year. You can imagine how much hours are put into it from planning as well as other departments. For zoning amendment, it's also a flat fee, it's $500. Site plan application, which is one of the items that takes a lot of time. I would say it's the most time-consuming application. It's $500 fee. It's $500 flat fee. You can imagine. Sometime you have an application for over 50,000 square feet. Sometime you have an application for, say, 2,000 square feet. It doesn't matter. It's a flat fee. So it doesn't really reflect the amount of work that is being put in each application. As for signs, and you don't see this one, but it's related to zoning. Again, it's a flat fee, $2.5 for each square feet, with a minimum of $25. What else can we talk about? Well, usually if you start a project related to fee schedules, number 1, you look at what other comparable cities are doing. Basically, you do what they call in business benchmarking. So we have, and actually you have this in your package, we have 8 different cities that we compared ourselves with, and in the package you will see more detail, but I'm going to highlight 2 examples here. One for variance, and again, that doesn't go to you, it goes to the zoning appeal board. We charge $250. If you look across the board, we are by far, I don't want to say the most affordable, I'd say the one that doesn't reflect the amount of work that is being put into it. Another example, for zoning amendment, again, we have a flat fee, does not differentiate between text amendment and map amendment. It's $500. I don't want to take the most expensive example, but you will see. All of them start over $700 or above, plus other costs. So really what we have does not reflect what our comparable cities have so far. What else do we do? Again, you cannot just look at different cities and say, hey, we are more or less. Because sometimes each organization, as we all know, has its own different structure, and departments might change in terms of how many staff are in it, or also the expectation and the amount of tax being collected for the general budget. So it's also a good exercise to look at our organization internally. And if you look at the slide, if you look only at planning alone, you will see that 2024, 2025, all our revenues were about 256,000. The cost just for staff and operating cost is 520,000. The same, it's very similar for 2025, 2026 in terms of revenue and expenses. We are short of about almost 200,000 a year. However, this is not the way it works. The way it works is because we are combined with our zoning, and a lot of the work we do includes a lot of involvement from other departments. So the way to do it is to also include zoning and planning and all the application we work on in terms of how many hours other departments contribute to. Take, for example, if you have an application for a site plan, that requires a lot of time between different engineering divisions. So if you calculate all of this, you will see that we have a deficit last year of almost 1.5 million, and the same for the next year. So we really have quite a deficit. And from a financial point of view, what do you do if you have a deficit? Well, you have two options. Get more money from the general budget, which we all know is not realistic nowadays because of all the commitment the city has. Second one is to look at what you are charging and see if there's any opportunities for improvement, which is what we are doing now. So what are we doing? If you look at the slide here, and this is actually in the package we have. Instead of the mainly flat fee for any application, we are adopting tier system. By that, we mean that there will be different categories. If you look closely, you will see that the two categories at the beginning are very similar to what we are charging now, because we don't want to increase the cost for small application. However, if you look at the other categories, you will see that there's a slight increase. However, it's not a huge increase. To give you an example, if you look, this is under zoning permit. If you look at an application between 500,000 and $1 million in cost, what we are charging now, and I'm simplifying, would be about $525. What we would be charging under the proposed regulation would be about $900. Moving on, also along the same line of the tier system, we are having a tier system for zoning application. So for a zoning amendment that only includes text, we're proposing it to be $850. For the one that includes map amendment, you will see it looks like a big jump. However, it's not, and I will explain why. For any zoning amendments that includes mapping amendment, unfortunately, we don't do it in-house. So all the GIS and mapping systems that we do afterwards, we pay from the taxpayers' money, which costs at least $1,000 just for the tax for the mapping GIS amendment. So we are just covering the cost. The same applies for variances. As we speak, we only have one type of variance. We are proposing to have one for residential uses, which will cost say $160, one for all other applications, commercial and industrial, which will be $460. Along the same line, and this is a very important one, for site plan applications, we are proposing new categories we didn't have before. We are proposing one for residential application and one for non-residential. For residential application, we are proposing $200 base fee plus $50 for each residential unit. For a non-residential application, we are breaking it down based on the square footage of the building or the site work, because this is where most of the view from engineering and other departments happen. One other item I would like to point out here is we, as we speak, have a flat fee for zoning letters. From discussion with internally with the staff, it's a very time-consuming process. So we're proposing increasing the cost from $100 to be $175 for residential and $250 for commercial uses or industrial uses. The reason is I didn't know that sometimes it takes over 3 days just for research to find all the information. One thing that is actually unique and important about what we are proposing is, as we speak, we never had any, I would say, fines for any application that comes after a violation happens. This has been an ongoing internal discussion. There's a kind of an assessment that not having an additional fee for violation kind of encourages people to have violation and come in later to actually ask for forgiveness. So now, after talking to Corporation Council and different departments, what we are proposing is to have double the fee for any application that happen after a violation. And this is can be done in Connecticut based on the new law changes in Hartford. So what are the recommendations? The recommendation is we are in a situation that the whole city is undertaking a big project to look at efficiency and also to make sure that application and development pays for itself. Part of this initiative is looking at zoning and planning fees, and it's about time to look at them seriously and consider the changes that will help us be more efficient and be more sustainable. With that, I come to the end of this overview. Happy to answer any questions.
Commission members, questions for Waleed at this time? I can't, yeah, you have to close that screen down so I can see my fellow commissioners. Anything for Waleed? You know, I'll start with a comment. No, I agree completely that the fee schedule should reflect the scope of the project, and not all projects are created equal, and some require a lot more time of staff. I think that makes perfect sense to me. I was surprised. I think that, you know, as planners, you know, we think about the plan of conservation and development. We think about, you know, affordable housing, 830G. We think of, you know, special exceptions, you know, 10C4. I haven't thought about fees in a long time, and apparently it hasn't been an issue in a long time because it's 2016. So I have no issue with the fee schedule reflecting the scope or magnitude of a given project. Mr. Chiocchio?
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I did have a question, and there was one about, I think it was a letter amendment or a letter, I forgot the name of it. And you said it takes a lot of time and it could take 8 days for research and all that. And I was just looking at the increase. It went from like $150 to $200. So, I mean, for $100, it seems like it would be, you'd want to have it a little bit more than that. But so I guess what I'm saying is are the increases enough to really compensate some of the work on the more complicated applications is I guess what I would be my comment. I'm not sure it goes far enough, but I'm happy to see some increases. So overall, I'm fine with it. I just question whether some of the more complicated ones, maybe it's not quite enough. But I know we don't want to price ourselves out of the market and discourage development as well. So I know you're trying to walk that fine line there.
And Mr. Chairman, I may add too, that's exactly the point. The whole idea is we cannot actually break even, and this is not even the discussion we had internally. This is not the goal for now. However, once we do it, we have to evaluate it in a year or so and see how it's working. We also, as you mentioned, we are very careful about not to make drastic changes all at once, understanding we have to make changes. We don't have another option. To your point, yes, some of the application, unfortunately, and I'm sure you might be aware of it, we have not been early adopter of technology, unfortunately, and a lot of what we do is still paper-based. So we are, and I believe I mentioned it to you before, I mean to you as a commission and to the zoning commission, we have a lot to catch up on. We are working on a digitizing project to digitize everything we have. We are working with a company now to have all our applications online. So similar to cities that are way smaller than us. All of this will cost money. Also, we have to update all our GIS. Our GIS needs a lot of updates for us as a city and for the public as well. All of this will cost money. And the only way to try to capture some of it is to work on our fee schedule.
Yeah, no, I agree with Mr. Kiokio. I was surprised how low these are. I mean, I know firsthand the amount of time and effort that your staff has to put into some of these. And to his point, a couple of them, Waleed, and you don't have to put it back up on the screen, but a couple of the municipalities that you put up there had a flat fee, then it said plus additional costs. So they apparently get their flat fee and then they reserve the right to charge more depending on what they have to do. Was there any thought given to that, or is that just something you don't want to pursue at the present time?
You know what? That's a great point. Some of the other costs we already have, such as the public notice costs, we charge 400. We are proposing it to be 500. So those are additional costs. Some of it also is open to, I didn't want to actually talk about it. It can be complex. They have to evaluate what the application is for, the location, because some of the municipalities have a waterfront. This will add more additions, more money to the application. I didn't want to get into all the little details, but just wanted to capture the general idea.
Thank you. Commission members, any other questions for Waleed on this particular 8.3A?
I do.
Please, Helen.
So you mentioned that simultaneous with proposing and hopefully, codifying these changes over the next year, that you're going to have technology look at saving costs. You mentioned paper to to mechanized. Will that in sync be looked at over the year? You did mention also that at the end of the year, you're going to reevaluate and see up or down, to readjust, which I think is a very positive thing to do. And will you have that input, enough input to be able to count some of the technology improvements, which are one time, hopefully, transition type improvements, as part of the negative, costs going up and then negative, keeping them in check. So that's the question. Will you have some simultaneous finished technology proposals that you can kind of adjust using those next year?
See you, Mr. Chairman. Absolutely, yes, that's the goal. We are actually having already, I would say, halfway done with our digitization project. We will also have a system for online application. We are also working on finding some funding to improve our GIS mapping. So all of that is actually being evaluated at the same time. And I have a financial background, so every couple of weeks, sometimes 4 weeks, I sit down with our finance department to see what's going on. I'm a fan of being early, like knowing early on what's going on and not waiting at the end when you actually have issues you cannot solve. Mm-hmm. And as we go, this is something I'm working on. I might be updating you, meaning the Planning Commission and Zoning Commission, about what's going on. And I also talk to the mayor's office. So there's a lot of cooperation and collaboration going on. And hopefully you are seeing some positive outcomes as we speak.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Helen. Any other questions for Waleed on this particular referral? And hearing none, I'll entertain a motion for a positive or a negative referral on this matter.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion for a positive referral.
Thank you, Perry. Positive referral by Mr. Sylvain. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Second, Ms. Hofstetter, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Opposed? This particular 8.3A referral gets a positive referral from planning. Thanks, Waleed, on that one. Okay, we're going to move to the second one. Now, this one's a long read, everybody. So if you need to top off your coffee, now's the time to do it. Here we go. 83A referral petition Waleed Al-Bakri, Planning Director, to amend the following sections of the zoning regulations, Table of Contents, Section 2B, definitions, Section 3, district regulations, Section 3F, use regulations, special permit uses, Section 4C, three-family residential district, R3, Section 4D, high-rise residential district, RH3, Section 4F6, landscape buffer yards, Section 5D, light commercial district, CL10, Section 5F, downtown transit-oriented development district, DTOD, Section 5H, additional commercial regulations, Sections 6C2, landscape requirements, Section 7A3, definitions, Section 7E, Main Street Historic Overlay Zone, Section 8A3, erosion and sediment control permits, Section 8C, off-street parking and loading, Section 8E3, sign permits, Section 8C, I've read that one twice, my apologies. Section 8C, off-street parking and loading, Section 8.3E, sign regulations in commercial and industrial districts, Section 10C, special exceptions and special permits, Section 10D, site plan review, and Section 10I3, zone change criteria. Update definitions, make adjustments to existing regulations to comply with adoption of the DTOD regulations and add clarity and applicability to the language in the zoning regulations. The Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on these changes on June 10th, 2025 rather. And with that, Waleed, it's over to you.
Okay. Good evening again. That looks like a lot. However, it's not. Okay, so for the record, my name is Waleed Al-Bakri and I am the planning director. Tonight, I will just give you an overview of what I call omnibus amendment. By omnibus, we mean comprehensive amendment that includes so many different projects that might appear not to be related. With that, I will just share my screen with you here. Bear with me. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Awesome. Okay, great. So I have noted in previous meeting with the Planning Commission and Zoning Commission that our planning department is always working to identify sections that are either unclear, or sometimes it can be problematic or outdated. To ensure efficiency, what we do, we have a database, we created a database, and we propose amendment on, I would say, a yearly basis. Sometimes if there are so many amendments, it will be every 6 months or so. And tonight I will cover the key projects we are focusing on. And I know, I admit it, it looks like a lot. However, at the end of the presentation, hopefully you will see that it's not that many changes. And I'm going to move on to the next slide here. So all what we are doing can be broken down into 4 different categories. Number 1, adjusting or refining existing definitions or having new definitions. 2, changes because, of course, as you know, the TOD district, which made some former districts irrelevant. Also, we have to clarify the applicability of some of the regulation. By that, I mean some section we have to mention specifically that it is within the city of Danbury, because recently there have been some applications where the lack of mentioning within the city of Danbury was an issue. Last category would be correcting oversights. And I'm going to actually show here, I will go over each category one by one, mentioning examples. So we have some existing definitions, and you see them here on the slide. We have the one for apartment house, we have cafe, we have crematory, we have hotel motel, we have restaurant, we have structure and tavern. Some of it, and I'm going to go over each one very quickly. For apartment house, we are just making sure that it's for any building 2-story or more. As it is now, it's just 4 stories, so it excludes 2-story and 3-story. Cafe, we are making changes just to make sure that previous reference to the downtown zoning districts is taken out. Crematory, as we speak now, we have a definition that talks about combustion, meaning incineration. However, it doesn't take into consideration that new technology. As we speak in the state of Connecticut, it's legal to have crematory by water, and I'm going to pronounce the chemical name alkaline hydrolysis. I believe I hope I pronounced it correctly. And there's also in Connecticut, you are permitted to use chemical for cremation. Hotel motel, we are not making any changes except to make sure that it does not include shelters or adult daycares because it was an issue before. So it's still the same, just adding more clarifications. For the restaurant one, we are not making changes. We are just making sure that we are deleting the reference to the old zoning districts in downtown. For structure, we are actually clarifying the definition because, as you know, the setbacks in our zoning regulation are related to any structure. We are making sure that it does not include a retaining wall. Because recently there have been issues about applications where there were challenges for why a retaining wall would not be included in the setbacks. So we had to have a new definition for structure, and later on I will talk about a new definition for a retaining wall. For tavern, we are just making sure that it doesn't mention previous zoning districts that don't exist anymore. With that, I come to the next slide, which talks about new definitions. As you see, the first one has to do with the retaining wall. So we are defining what a retaining wall is, which is used for stability of soil or sometimes for landscaping. And we are making sure that it's not subject to setback requirements. Site plan, we have the site plan requirement, as you know, but we don't have a definition. We are just introducing a definition. An important one is the smoke shop. And I'm gonna here expand on what I mean by smoke shop. So you might be aware that the city has been facing some challenges about smoke shops. Part of the reason is we didn't have a definition for smoke shop, and they were all permitted as just regular business. We have an estimate about 15 smoke shops. They were all permitted without specific regulations. What we are trying to do now is working with our police department to have a definition based on which nobody would be able to apply for a new smoke shop until we figure out where it actually could be located. So in essence, it's a way to stop the prevalence of smoke shop until we have more discussions for how to deal with smoke shop or if the city needs any more smoke shops. And basically what we're talking about is the percentage of the total sale and the percentage of the floor area, which based on that, our police department is okay with the definition and believe it will achieve its target. So this definition was a result of a lot of collaboration between police, corporation council, zoning, and planning. So I'm moving on to talk about adjustment because of the DTOD. Those are just very basic changes that were needed after the adoption of the DTOD. It took a lot of time, but all of it and most of what you see in the ad, I mean the legal ad, is related to them. All what it does, it makes sure that there's no reference to zoning districts that don't exist anymore. Some of the regulations that existed before are not relevant because they are now replaced by the regulation in the DTOD. One thing that we are doing as well, we are adding vet hospital or clinics that doesn't have overnight boarding as a permitted use in the new DTOD because it should have been included, but it was missed. One thing that I mentioned early on at the beginning is we looked at 3 different sections you see here on the slide to make sure that they are applicable only within the city of Danbury. And those are related to buffers, between residential uses and not between non-residential uses and residential uses, buffers between commercial zones and residential zones, and buffer between industrial zones and residential zones. What happened is during some of the previous applications, some people outside of the city of Danbury question why we don't ask for the buffer, even though the lots or property are outside of the city of Danbury. And we talked to our corporation council, and we are implementing their recommendations by adding within or outside or any other qualifier to make sure the regulations are only applicable in the city of Danbury. One thing that we are doing, we are correcting an oversight here in the DTOD. There was a setback requirement of 20 feet. It should have been only 10 feet. So I come here to the end of the presentation with the recommendation, which is, as you know, the changes that are being proposed fall within categories that are supported by the POCD strategies and policies. Specifically speaking, POCD policy number 6, which talks about having regular updates to the zoning regulations to make it relevant, and also to allow for it to evolve to meet future and existing needs. With that, I just covered all the main points. I didn't want to go over all the detail. Otherwise, we'll be here overnight, but I'm happy to answer any questions. I know the package you have is a big one. It's about 16 pages or so. So if anything actually jumps out at you, let me know.
You'll have to, okay, there we go. Commission members, any questions for Waleed at this point?
Mr.
Helen,
Chairman,
please.
I just have a question about the health department, and I assume it's you're working with them regarding the crematory changes. Is that correct? And they are in support. You said, you know, statewide we are allowed the uses of water or chemical-based cremation. Is the health department on board with that, so that as this goes forward, you know, they've given, you know, an okay? Okay.
Absolutely. We discussed it. At this stage, we're only looking at the definition. As you can see, in the future, we will be looking at where it could actually be included as, say, permitted or special exception use. All what we are doing is just a definition stage.
All right. Okay, thank you.
Another quick question on definitions. I have no issues with the definition of an apartment house. Our current regs speak to a garden apartment, which is sort of an odd term. You never hear it in conversation, but they're in our regs. What's the distinction between a garden apartment and an apartment house?
That's a good one. When I was looking at it, so the definition is, if you look carefully at it, garden house is envisioned to be horizontal. Apartment house is envisioned to be vertical, and this is spelled out in some of the qualifiers. If you know, it's not spelled out exactly in an easy way to understand. But when it was discussed, and I discussed it with different folks from building side, that's how it was envisioned. Maybe at some point we have to look at the two definitions as well.
Okay, thank you. Commission members, anything else for Waleed? Lots of stuff here, but it's pretty straightforward. And obviously, the regs they're an organic document. They have to be updated and changed to reflect the times and to certainly be contemporary with our peers and our other municipalities in Connecticut. Anything else? Okay, unless there's any other discussion, I will entertain a motion to approve or deny this 838 referral. I'm sorry, to recommend a positive or negative 838 referral.
Oh, Mr. Chairman, I'll
Yes.
make a motion for a positive referral for this recommendation.
Thank you, Helen. Motion made for a positive referral. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Is that Mr. Kiokio on the second? Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? This one gets this 838 referral gets a positive. Thank you, Waleed. Very comprehensive presentation here. Okay, commission members, you'll see under new business, there's another 8-3 referral coming up. That's going to be discussed at our July 2nd, 2025 meeting. We have nothing under correspondence or other matters. Unless there is anything else, Ally or Jennifer or anyone else, am I forgetting anything? Leaving anything out? All good? Okay. Commission members, unless there's anything else, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion made, Mr. Sylvain, seconded, Ms. Hofstadter. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Right?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thank you.
Night, everyone.
Good night.
Good night.